Well, good afternoon, y'all. Today, my goal is to make pie crust. I've been making pie crust since I was 11 years old, and they're really not hard. I know a lot of people say, I can't make a pie crust, but really, it's very easy. And to go with that pie crust, I don't have anything to make or berries to make cobbler with. So I've got some gala apples that need to be cooked. And if I was making a apple pie, I would use something like a Granny Smith apple. But because this is a cobbler, and usually those are the fruit is real soft, I'm going to use the gala apples, and I'm going to use a little bit of sugar and mace and some flour for the inside with the apples, and then I'll put the pie crust on top. So let me get started, and we'll see how it goes. All right, now I'm cutting these apples um, in a not like I would pie crust. If I was doing a pie crust, they'd be shaped different. Let me sharpen my little knife here. Okay. All right. Now I have peeled many an apple over my lifetime. When my mother taught me to make apple pies when I was 11, I would go on the east side of the property and pick apples. And they were little apples. They were not very big. I don't remember the variety, but they were small little green apples. Maybe this size. Not very big. And of course, I had bad spots on them, and I'd have to cut out those bad spots. And so it took a little while to get all those cut up and cut out the bad parts. But they were good. They were kind of a tart apple. Now, right here, if I was slicing for an apple pie, I would just slice them this way. You see there? But because I'm going to make this cobbler, I'm going to cut them up, kind of make them the size of, say, a large blackberry. I guess that's probably my favorite cobbler is blackberries. But you can make a fruit cobbler out of anything. Peaches, apples, blueberries, blackberries, cherries. It doesn't matter. Whatever your family likes. You don't have to go by everybody else's rules. And I never had a little knife like this before. My girlfriend Ramona gave me this little knife, and I sure have enjoyed it. Okay, now, and I personally like to get that center out of the apple, because even though it gets cooked, it still has that little bit of hardness to it, and I don't like it. And since I'm the cook, I just cut it out. That's the nice thing about knowing how to cook. You can make things like you like them, not what everybody else says. Okay, now I'm going to finish this apple here. Then I'm going to pause the video and finish up the apples, and then I'll come back. I've already put a little lemon juice in here and probably a half a cup of sugar. I don't want it to be real sweet. And I've put the seasoning I'm using is mace. My mother always used mace in her apples when she made apple pie. It's a nice flavor. Of course, you can use cinnamon or, I don't know, thinking most any kind of spice like that. I'm thinking maybe one day I'll try using cardamom in there. I bet that'd be real good. Okay, I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, I've got all the apples cut up, and with the little bit of sugar that I've put on there, I guess probably maybe a half a cup, maybe not that much, and a little mace. I'm going to put it on a little flour, a little bit, maybe a tablespoon and a half. I'm going to put a little salt, maybe a fourth of a teaspoon. And I'm going to put a little bit of sugar in that. Oops. Sorry about that. I dropped the sugar. I guess the ants will have a field day now. Alright, put a little bit of sugar in there. And the reason I'm doing that is so that the flour will sprinkle over it and mix better. Okay. And I may not use this whole thing, but we'll see. Alright. And I usually like to use a mix of cornstarch and flour. I like the way the cornstarch gives it a kind of a glossy look to it, kind of shiny, and you don't get that with the flour. Okay, sprinkle that. Yeah, I didn't use all of it. I still have at least a half a cup of flour left. Okay, and of course you want your cobbler to be not runny, but have more juice in it than you would in a pie. So I'm going to add a little bit of water. Okay. Stir that around. Now, most people, when they make a cobbler, they use a biscuit dough. My mother never did. Every cobbler she ever made, she used a pie crust. And, you know, when you make the biscuit crust, the biscuit, dough mixes with the liquid in your cobbler, gets all mixed in, it's all good, tastes good. But because I grew up having pie crust on my cobblers, that's how I like it, pie crust. And after my mother passed away, I was in my kitchen, I was making a cobbler, and it didn't turn out very good. And I thought, oh, I wished I'd have gotten Mama's recipe for blackberry cobbler. And so, I don't know, weeks later or something like that, I was looking through her cookbook, the American Woman's Cookbook. And I was flipping through it, and when I opened it up, she's got something glued in there, a chef's herbal. And you turn the page, and right here it says blackberry pie, and she meant cobbler. And she's got the recipe in here, and I was looking at it, and I thought, oh, I forgot to put water in it. That's why it was so dry and not good. So I saw that. I was so happy to see that she had written it down, because a lot of recipes she just threw stuff together, but there it was in her own handwriting. So now I'm going to make the pie crust. I'm going to pause for a minute so I can get my things ready, and then I'll come back. Okay, now this recipe for this pie crust, my sister also uses this pie crust, and it comes from off the can of a Chef Way shortening. So we do 1 1/3 cups of flour, okay, let me take out just a smidgen of that. I'll add what I had left over from the apples. Okay, in goes the flour, and then you need a 1/2 cup of shortening. And I can tell you, I don't feel bad about using the sticks. Okay, a 1/2 cup is 8 8 tablespoons, so I'll have 2 left over. All right, and I keep it in the refrigerator so that it's always cold and ready to go when I want to make pie crust. Stick that in there. Okay, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 2 to 3 tablespoons of cold water. Now before I put the water in there, you see there, I have the flour in there, the shortening, and the salt. Now I'm going to cut that shortening into the flour. Now I brought out these 2 knives to show you that for years when I made pie crust I used 2 knives. I just crisscrossed that flour in there, worked it in, and I did this for years. I mean, it's how my mother taught me to do it. Of course, you want to do this as quickly as you can because you want the shortening, and when you put the water in, you want it all to be cold. Okay, that's enough of that. Years later, my girlfriend Ramona, bless her heart, bless her soul, she's been gone since last year in February. She gave me one of these, pastry cutter. It changed my life. Makes a quick job of cutting that flour, the shortening into the flour. Okay, I don't know if you can see or not, but you want it to be, you know, kind of pea-sized, kind of all blended in. Okay, now it's time for the water. Now, the water, it says 2 or 3 tablespoons. I want to start out with 2, because it really depends. I'm going to use my hands. It really depends on how humid it is, what's going on outside with the weather, or how humid your house is. And here in the South, I mean, it can be 100 degrees and the humidity is 100. Okay, now put just a little bit more water. And sometimes I've had to use more than the recipe called for. And, you know, you say, well, how do you know? How do you know? And it just comes with practice. You know, most people will take time to practice something, or, you know, if you're a gardener, you know, you'll try planting different vegetables or flowers and it doesn't work, and you'll research and try again and again. But you're just wanting to work all that in. You can kind of feel it coming together. And, you know, you don't want too much water because you'll end up with a hard crust. And as you turn it around, it'll start to come into a ball. That's what you want. You want it to feel soft and pliable. You can feel it. You know, when you practice and you make pie crust over and over and over, you just finally learn it. And my sister and I can make pie crust in our sleep. When we went to go to family gatherings, they were always asking my sister and I to make the pies. Okay, and you should be able, see, I'm just scraping it all around. It's just moist enough to stick, and leave it with a clean bowl. All right. Oh, that feels good. All right, let me get this stuff out of the way here. All right, now let me make sure my counter is dry. All right, take some flour. Flour your countertop and flour your dough. Okay. Roll it out. And if you keep turning it, you can have a round circle. Kind of press on one side there. Turn it. Press on that side. Kind of keep that round circle. And you have to press down. You can't just roll over it. It's not going to go anywhere. You have to apply some pressure to it. Now, I don't need this to be round today because I'm using it in a rectangle dish, but I'll do it this way just so you can see what I'm doing. And I couldn't tell you which rolling pin this is, because I had my mother's, and then over the years I've bought two, so I have 3 rolling pins. And if you cook a lot, if you bake a lot, well, I just think it's a good idea to have more than one of something. Like I have 3 graters, so I can grate cheese or slaw or whatever. And I found that I guess my menu choice, I thought, man, I need another grater. I need another so-and-so. And because I cooked a lot of that, I made sure I had more than one of certain things. Okay. Here is the cobbler. Got the apples cut up. It's got sugar, lemon juice, mace, a little flour, just a little salt. And now I'm going to put this crust on here. Now I can make this one piece, or I can cut it up and make a patchwork on there. I think I'll use the top as a guide. And this happens to have a little bit of edge on it, so I'll take advantage of that. There you go. And I'll just cut around that. Okay, remove this outer part. Get my knife up under there. Okay, now make some little vent holes. And I'll just lay that on top. Okay, and in the oven it goes. I already have the oven set at 400. I'll I'll set the timer for 30 minutes. Alright, well, got all this dough left. What am I going to do with it? Well, you can put it in a little plastic bag, save it for your next cobbler and make like a patchwork quilt on top of your cobbler. Or, as my mother did when we were kids, when she had leftover pie crust, she would sprinkle it with sugar and cinnamon and just bake it like it was, the little strips that she would cut off the pies. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to use my little Uzbekistan stamps, and I'm going to make some designs, and I'm just going to bake this as a little snack, as a homage to my mother. But yeah, you can put these in that plastic bag and put it in the freezer, and you've got crust for another cobbler. Let me get some cinnamon. This, get some of my sugar mess from back there. It fell. I'm going to just sprinkle it with this little thing. Just hate making messes like that. It's just like, it was, I mean, it was an accident, but now I got to clean it up. Just seemed like a waste of time. Okay. Alright, sprinkle with a little cinnamon. And you know, as little kids coming home in the afternoon from school, Mama be in the kitchen making pies. And she'd have these little things, say, here's your little snack, you know. Oh, it was just wonderful. Okay. And of course, if you have young children, grandkids, you could let them sprinkle the crust and let them put it on the pan. Let them participate in the kitchen, especially if they show an interest in cooking. Oh, that's a wonderful thing, for them to be able to learn to cook, and when they get out on their own, at least they'll be able to cook for themselves. Okay, let me get a smaller one. You know, when I haven't posted the video yet, but I made some bread yesterday, and I used these stamps. My oldest daughter got them for me. They're from Uzbekistan, if I'm saying that right. And the bread that I made, it just had flour, yeast, salt, sugar, and milk. And it turned out really good. And today, I was a little hungry, and I just wanted something quick to eat. So I tore off a piece of that bread and put a little turkey and cheese on there, and it was really good. It was the bread was soft. It wasn't crumbly. Okay, all right. Let's see how that turns out. Let me get this pan here. I'll rub a little shortening on there. Watch out, little girl. One of my cats is right up under my feet. She's laying down now. Okay, let's put these on there. And, you know, they take maybe 10 minutes or something. Doesn't take long. Okay, there we go. Yeah, just bake those up. I'll watch those close because I had to put them on the top burn. I mean the top rack. If I'm not careful, they'll burn. Okay, I'm going to pause the video and I'll come back when the little treats are ready. Pie crust treats. And I'll clean up this mess I've made. Clean up that sugar mess where I dropped all that stuff. Let me see if I can get little girl. If I can, let's see here. Little girl, little girl. Shh, shh. Hey. Oh well, okay. I'll be back. Okay, the little pie crust treats are ready. They turned out pretty. Even though I had to cook them on the top burner, they still worked out pretty good. Let's see. Let me test these out. Okay. Ah, nice and crisp. Ooh. And the design stayed on there pretty good. Let's find another one. See, you could take these. You could just make a pie crust and cut it up into nice neat squares or rectangles and put some little design on there and have a nice little treat. Let me try one. I hate eating with my dentures. Okay. I know that my crust on my cobbler is going to be crisp because these are crisp. Okay. I'm going to try this burnt one. My sister and I like burnt things. Oh. Simple and good. My daughter is going to have a real treat today. Alright, I'll be back when the cobbler's ready. Okay, y'all, let's try some of this cobbler. I should have put more flour in it because it's really wet, I'd say. Not a bad thing, just a little bit too much. And I am going to put in some of that extra crust. Oh, yes. Okay. Well, the ants heard about the sugar spill, and they have just been coming around. They said they wanted some of it. I said, sorry. Okay. Let's try this. Oh. And as I was thinking about this, I thought, that crust, I have a cookie press. I think it's a heart shape, for Valentine. And I could press that on the pie crust, and that'd be pretty for Valentine's. Okay, let me mix that up. Okay, here we go. Yes, that's good. Very good. I love the taste of mace. And I have to say, for people who don't have dentures, when you get dentures, it covers up your taste buds and you don't get the full flavor of what you're eating. Because when you have your natural teeth, your taste buds, they're not just in your tongue. It takes your whole mouth to taste food. So you kind of miss out a little bit. But I can still get the flavor of the mace in there. It's really good. A little dab of whipped cream on there, or some cream. That's how my grandfather liked his cobblers. We'd fix him a bowl, and he'd always want a little cream. Well, actually, it wasn't cream. It was canned milk, evaporated milk. He liked to have that on his cobbler. But anyway, well, I'm glad I made it. It was good. And I texted my daughter, and she'll be over in a while. She had to go get some feed. And when she gets back, she'll stop and pick up her portion of apple cobbler. So y'all have a good evening, a good day. Be kind to somebody. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.